Good evening and welcome to Jaipur, Rajasthan. Why do they call politics in this state the politics of the revolving door? Find out later. And why do they call that the Hawa Mahal? It's an iconic, isn't it a beautiful, beautiful structure? 365 windows. That's why it lets the wind in, and it's called Hawa Mahal, and it's designed to look like the crown of Lord Krishna. It's back to the exciting elections of Rajasthan. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of Rajasthan, just once again to emphasize how much more important Vidhan Sabha assembly elections are now becoming than Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha seems far away from all the states that we've been to, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and here, and it's all about local issues. And just look at the figures. If you look at all Vidhan Sabha elections and Lok Sabha elections over the years, look at the difference. If you look between 80 and 90, the turnout, that means the number of people that used to come and vote in Lok Sabha elections, was 62%. What was it for Vidhan Sabha in the 80s, 80 to 90? 59%. So Vidhan Sabha was lower by 3%. There were all the elections in those 10 years, 3% lower. But let's look at the trend now over time, right up to this decade. Vidhan Sabha has gone from 59% up to 65%. That means 2 out of 3 voters are turning out for Vidhan Sabha elections. And what about Lok Sabha? Let's have a look what happened to them. The trend there is the opposite, downwards, down to 59%. So the difference now, these are not just Rajasthan, this is the all Vidhan Sabha. A general trend is that Vidhan Sabha has a 6% higher turnout than Lok Sabha. The relevance of assembly elections is higher than ever before in the history of post-independent India. What about Rajasthan? Does it follow the same pattern? Well, let's have a look at exactly the same trends here for the same period and see what the turnout was. Lok Sabha 56%, 80 to 90. Vidhan Sabha was lower again. Let's have a look at what that was. 54, that's lower by 2%. But now just to have a look at the trend since then. From 54 to 67% average. And I'm talking about one election. I'm talking about all the elections between 2000 and 2009. That's up 13%. And what about the Lok Sabha here? Lok Sabha election turnout down to 49. So the difference is 18%. That really is an indicator of how seriously people take assembly elections, how much more seriously they take assembly elections over Lok Sabha elections. It's a massive change. To try and explain some of this to me is the one and only Dorab Supariwal. You know this inside out. And Shekhar Gupta, who knows the politics of it inside out. Unfortunately, I'll have to ask you questions, and you may show your, now you can show your knowledge. So why this huge change?
I think the point that you made, that people are more interested in local issues, local affairs, perhaps it's also got to do with the fact that there are many more local parties contesting, which may not be national parties. But what surprised me is that this trend is not visible in Nagar Palika elections, because you would expect as you go down, getting closer,
will that come next?
You don't, sorry?
Not yet. Maybe it'll come next, you never know.
Probably because Nagar Palikas are often controlled by the government and they don't have power.
But they don't have that much power.
I think
so. Shekhar, this is a big change, you know, where it was trailing, now it's huge. Many more people get involved in assembly elections.
It's a very big change, but it's an entirely predictable change.
Right.
In the sense that this is the way India's governance structure has changed. We've now become much more federal than we used to be. In the past, one party ruled the center. It ruled most of the states. One family ruled the party. If someone else was elected in a state, they found an excuse to dismiss it. In past 15 years, India has become truly a federal country, and that has also led to the rise of strong state leaders. So voters now get divided on the basis of whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, or she's a good person or a bad person. So this has become a lot more contentious.
So you're saying it's not only in politics and economics, decision making, the federalization of India, if we can use that term, has happened over the last 15 years, and it's reflected in this.
And in fact, if you look at the problems that, say, the Congress party has had, one of the reasons they've had a problem is that they haven't quite embraced, they haven't quite accepted the idea, the fact that India has got so federalized, because their party is the least federalized.
So I want to ask you, Dorab, when you see Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi coming, actually they're not very relevant for these states.
Yes.
Elections.
Yeah, but finally, there's a big leader coming, and I think, these leaders often, most parties here are controlled by individuals, and I think a leader coming does make a difference, particularly
So they
if
can add a bit,
new
but-
leader. Yeah.
Not normally. Say in 2008 or 2004, national leaders would not have been relevant at all. But now, because the next general election is set up as almost a presidential contest
So then
between
they
Modi
will
and
have an impact.
Rahul Gandhi. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to, we wanted to check to see whether these elections will have are they good indicators of what's going to happen in the Lok Sabha, which is only less than 6 months from now. Well, we don't know the exact dates, but 4 to 6 months from now. Do assembly elections have are they good forecasters of the results of the Lok Sabha elections that are about to come? Let's have a look at what happened in the past. 2003, 2004. Rajasthan, Assembly BJP, Lok Sabha BJP. Next, if we move on very quickly, let's move on. Madhya Pradesh, BJP. Move on now to Chhattisgarh, BJP, Lok Sabha also BJP. Delhi, Congress at the Assembly, Congress at the Lok Sabha. Very good forecasters, 2003, 2004. 2008, 2009. Remember, these are years when the Lok Sabha followed the Assembly very closely within the same kind of period, 4 to 6 months. Congress in Rajasthan. MP, BJP. Move on to Chhattisgarh. BJP won both the Assembly and the Lok Sabha. Delhi, Congress. So, in terms of who's the winner, these elections are a very good indicator of who's going to win these states in the Lok Sabha elections. Not the overall country, but these states. You don't have to do opinion polls. This is very clear. But let's go one step further. Do the votes change at all? If we look at the next next level of analysis, do the votes change at all? Here's what here. Look at Rajasthan. In the Assembly, the BJP got 39%. In the Lok Sabha, they got 49%, up 10%. What happened in Madhya Pradesh? Let's have a look. BJP 42%, Lok Sabha 48%, up 6%. Did much better in the Lok Sabha than they did in the Assembly. Let's have a look at Chhattisgarh. 39% in the Assembly, 48%, up 9%. And finally, Delhi, how did the Congress do? Let's have a look. 48-55, up 7%. So each party, and we move on to the next 2008-2009. Let's have a look at what happened there. Each party does much better in the Lok Sabha than they did in the Assembly. Congress, one in Rajasthan, they improved their performance by 10% in the Lok Sabha, following Lok Sabha. Madhya Pradesh, BJP did better by 5%, again better. Chhattisgarh, let's have a look. Up 5%, better in the Lok Sabha than the Assembly. And Delhi up 17%. So not only are these, Dora, good forecasters, they also tell you that the next, the Lok Sabha, you're going to do better.
Yeah.
So it's a honeymoon.
Yes.
You're reaping the benefits of a honeymoon.
But it also shows that almost all the second period states in the Vidhan Sabha, they've all lost votes. So the second period is not normally as good. Say the Vidhan Sabha results themselves have come down.
No, I'm just talking about, are
you're
they
right.
good forecasters?
Yes, they're very good
Yeah.
forecasters.
I think
they're
they're
infallible almost.
They give you a good indication of a momentum that's being built.
Right.
Now, if the party continues on with it, obviously you will build on it.
In fact,
But again, the interesting thing is it doesn't cross state borders in India anymore.
That's
That's
interesting. So what happens here, you can't tell what happens in
Because
other states, especially in the south.
2003,
UP does not cross state borders.
BJP swept these states and made the mistake of holding early elections. And what happened? Because they thought what they saw in Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh will also happen in UP, Bihar and elsewhere. Did not happen.
Okay, joining us now is Manvendra Singh of the BJP, son of the, I don't need to introduce him as son because he's a leader in his own right, but son of an old, great leader of the BJP. So just one thing, old like me. So I don't mean that in any terms
I
except
think you
experience.
should introduce him also as a former Indian Express defense correspondent.
Oh,
as
former
one of my most
can't-
wonderful colleagues.
You can't avoid a plug.
He's a veteran, Express veteran.
Okay.
And he's a serving soldier. So.
And Sachin Pilot, again, don't need to introduce him as son of anybody, but of course son of the great
Minister.
Rajesh Pilot, minister. Let me ask you, Sachin, how important is it for Rahul and Narendra Modi to come? All our analysis tends to show that this is such a local election. The turnout is higher. They don't bother that much anymore about Lok Sabha. I know you're a minister in the Lok Sabha, but are you all becoming irrelevant in your states?
Not quite yet, Prannoy, I think not quite yet. I don't know too much about statistics and the kinds of issues you were talking about earlier, but I think for national parties, we have, for national parties it's important for our top leadership to come and participate in the all-important state assemblies. And this has been true historically over the last 6 decades, no matter who has been leading any political party, they come. I think it also galvanizes the workers, the cadres and the candidates. Now the voter turnout and the results, etc. are something that are unique to each state. But broadly speaking, every party puts its best foot forward, and I think I speak here for all national parties. You've had Mayawati come and campaign in Rajasthan. You're having other regional parties who have very small presence but still do make that effort. I think it's also important to see that the campaign gets a tempo and a momentum that then gets built on by the local leadership. And unless you have a leader who is able to have a pan-state presence and recognition that candidates and workers can associate with, then they don't get that kind of comfort while they're doing the door-to-door campaigning. So I think it's very important. It certainly gives everybody a fill-up. And again, like I said, I speak here, I think, for most political parties.
Right. I think, Manvendra, I'll allow your former boss to ask you a question.
Not his boss.
And you don't have to, he's no longer your boss. So be tough in your answer.
No,
Manvendra didn't listen to me very much. When he got to the Express newsroom, there are no bosses. But Manvendra, tell me something. You've complained to me in the past that when you go out to the district level, and that's what your father's also been saying, issues are completely different. All the things that we analysts talk about, all the things that we think determine people's destinies are very different from what they tell you. So when you go around Rajasthan countryside, particularly in your area, what is it that you are hearing? Are you hearing, is Gehlot better, or Vasundhra better, or Modi better, or Rahul better, or are you hearing something entirely different?
No, I think it's a good question to ask, given where I am sitting right now. It's the last village on the border with Pakistan, and because we're on the border, there's a segment of opinion and concern and desire to have better relations with Pakistan, because we're on the border, and so that's what you could call in terms of foreign policy impact. But otherwise, every issue discussed daily, continually, is completely local. And I quite agree with your conversation earlier about polling percentages. I wanted to add to that in terms of polling percentage. My input is that the highest polling percentage is always in the panchayat election, assembly is second, and Lok Sabha is third. Go back to Shekhar's specific question. The discussion is all local. It is Ashok Gehlot and Vasundhra in Rajasthan. There's a touch of the national leadership. There is a requirement certainly of national leaders to come, and as Sachin quite rightly put it, these are the big ticket items that we can call in terms of the big sabha, the big meeting. But in terms of the discussion, the points of discussion, it is all about leadership provided by Ashok Gehlot or the better leadership provided by Vasundhra Raje.
Right, that's actually quite interesting that it is filtering further and further down. Even panchayat elections,
the
it's all
bigger cities,
local.
but down the line it is.
There is higher voting percentage for any body, elected body, which is truly empowered. So panchayats are empowered,
Right.
Nagar palikas are not empowered.
Right,
And
exactly.
municipal corporations are run by civil servants and controlled by state governments.
So 20 years from now, 20% turnout for Lok Sabha? Nobody bothers?
I don't think so. I think in India, everywhere, overall voting percentages are going higher. In
But
fact,
no, Lok Sabha is going down actually. It's down by about 10% over the last
let us
20
see
years.
this time, because
whether
this
the trend continues.
this time
yeah.
Lok Sabha election will be perhaps more contentious
Yeah.
than in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Certainly
so we'll
it
see.
will not be a boring
Another
election.
check. Yeah. Okay, let's